Welcome everybody. So today's class we are going to be focusing on the front line of the body. So this is an area that tends to get quite tight, weak, restricted in many of us just because of sedentary life. If you're spending a lot of time sitting, driving, doing computer work, then this area tends to get short and weak. So we're going to help hopefully open things up with a specific focus into the fronts of the thighs. So to start with, if you have 2 blocks, then that would be great. So we're going to start just with the block on the medium height and just placing it directly underneath the pelvis. So you don't want it in the low back, you want it really kind of at the top of the glutes and where the sacrum is. Just maybe closing the eyes, just giving yourself a moment just to arrive to your practice and to your body. And just a simple elevation of the pelvis and the heart higher than the head can have a really calming effect on the nervous system. So I'm not sure if you've already begun to tap into that and feel that in your body. There's a kind of a sense of a sigh in your body that begins to happen. And from there, we're just going to create a little bit of engagement through the back of the pelvis. So a little bit of engagement through the feet, through the hamstrings, through the glutes. Not like 100% effort, but just a gentle effort. And sometimes even just creating a little bit of engagement into the back of the body can help to relax and release the front of the body. And then from there, we're just going to rub into the front of the pelvis, into the front of the hips, maybe even into the fronts of the thighs. Just bring in a little bit of sensory information from your body to your brain, which can help with proprioception, helping to better map this area of your body into your brain. You can come into kind of if you hook your fingers at the sides of the bones, the iliac crest here, and even just do a little bit of massage into the front of the abdomen, getting a sense of kind of even drawing the skin up. And then from there, once you've finished that, you can bring your right knee in towards your chest, take hold of the top of the knee. If you feel like the block is a little bit too high, you can lower it down onto the lower setting. And then you're going to lengthen this left leg, and almost as if you're trying to press that left foot into an imaginary wall. And then just allow the leg to kind of drop down. So we're creating this length through this whole of the left side of the leg and into the belly. I'm just going to take a couple of breaths here, just gently drawing that right knee in towards the chest and getting this sense of lengthening out through that left heel, finding that engagement through the left leg. Good, and then from there just bending your left knee up, releasing the right foot down, bringing the left knee in, taking hold of the top of the left knee, and then lengthening the right leg out, almost as if you're pressing that right foot into an imaginary wall, and then just allowing that right leg just to drop down towards the ground and keeping it active. So you're pressing that right foot away, really trying to find that length through that right side as you gently draw the left knee in towards your chest. Get another couple of breaths, just allowing everything to soften out, lengthen out. Good, and then bending into the right knee, placing the left foot down. And if you haven't already, just rolling the block onto the lowest height, again, just placing the pelvis onto the block there. And then you're just going to lift both knees so that the knees are directly over the hips. You're going to interlace the fingers behind the back of the head. And then as we inhale, we're going to take a big inhale breath in. And then as we exhale, we're going to Exhale and curl yourself up, and then begin to lengthen that left leg long, keeping the right knee over the hip. Bringing that left knee in, lowering the head. So we're just creating a little bit of engagement now through the abdominal muscles, the front of the anterior belly. And then exhale, curling up, lengthen the right leg. Just feeling a sense of kind of knitting in around the rib cage, around the pelvis. And then lowering the head down, bringing the knee back in. Curling up, lengthen your left leg. Having a little pause. Bringing the knee in, lowering the head down. Exhale, curling up. Lengthen right leg. Feeling that connection, that contraction of the abdominal muscles. Bringing the knee in, lowering the head. We'll do one more to each side. Exhale. Lengthen that left leg. Bring it in, lower it down. Last one, curling up. Lengthen the right leg. Having a little pause. Bringing the knee in, lowering the head. And then just releasing both feet down to the ground, releasing the block to the side. Widen the feet a little bit, wider than hip distance, and then just drop your knees over to your right. Bring your right hand onto the left side of your waist, and just get a sense of kind of pulling the skin of around kind of the hip, the waist, up towards the chest. And then taking the left hand and reaching the left hand over the ear. And then with this left hand, if you have something to push against, that's even better. But again, imagine this left hand pushing into an imaginary wall. So you're getting this length from the left fingertips all the way down to that left knee. And you're creating this kind of gentle stretch into the skin with this right hand. Good. And then from there, bring the knees back to center and take the knees over to the left. Right hand can come onto the waist or the top of the hip, and then just gently kind of draw the skin up with the hand, and then take the right hand, reach it overhead. And again, either if you have something to press into, press your hand into it, or imagine you're pressing into this imaginary wall with the right hand. Bringing that length from the right knee all the way up to the right hand. Good. And then from there, bringing the knees back to center. You're going to turn onto your left side. Just cradling your head with your arm. And then you're going to take your right fingertips and reach them over to the top right hand corner of your mat. And then just taking the right leg, straightening the leg, and then kicking the leg back. So you're reaching in opposite directions with your hand and your foot. And then imagine with your right hand you're grabbing something, and then you want to pull with this right hand. So you begin to rotate through the chest, and as you bring that right elbow back, you're kicking the right leg forward. And then again, reaching right hand, left leg, opposite directions. Pull with this right hand, kick with your right leg. Finding that rotation as you reach the right elbow towards the ground. We'll just do a few more like this, finding this kind of pull and rotate. Do one more, really getting that sense of lengthening from the fingertips again all the way down to the heel, and rotate, press the leg forward, reach the arm back. Good. From there you're going to come back onto your back, but again take hold of your block. This time you're going to place it on the medium height once again, and you're going to place it kind of round the bottom tips of your shoulder blades. So if you wear a bra, it's where your kind of bra strap sits. You're going to take your hands behind the head once again, and this time you're just going to arch yourself over the block. And then as we exhale, just almost as if we're doing like a little sit-up. But the emphasis isn't on any abdominal strengthening, it's just to create some mobilization of the vertebra where the block is. So we're arching over and rounding forward. Arching back and rounding forward. Good. We'll do 2 more like this. And last one. And then we'll remove the block, come onto your right side now. Again, just cradling the head with your hand, and then reaching left hand to that top corner of your mat, and then reaching that left leg back behind you. So it's sort of this diagonal stretch in opposite directions. And then almost as if you're trying to grab something with that left hand, and you're going to kind of pull it back, bringing that left elbow down to the ground as you kick that left leg forward. And then reaching arm and leg in opposite directions. Pull with this left arm, find that rotation, and reach. We'll do 2 more like this. This feels so good. And then from there we'll come on to hands and knees. Just give myself a little clothes adjustment. So just spreading through the fingers, pressing down through the hands. Begin to curl the toes under, lift the knees, and press yourself back into a downward facing dog. Just having a little pedal out here, just opening up through the calves and the hamstrings, mobilizing through the foot and the ankles. And then from there you're going to reach your right leg high to the sky. Bend your knee, and you're just going to internally and externally rotate the hip. So you're going to open the knee out to the side, and then you're going to bring the knee in towards the midline. Opening it up to the side, bringing it in towards the midline. Just finding this rotation at the hip, and then bring it back into external rotation so the knee is facing up towards the ceiling, and then begin to open through the front of the hip a little bit more. Press down strongly through the hands, and almost as if you're trying to push someone over that's on your left side with your right foot. And then from there you're going to step your right foot in between the hands. Again, you may need your blocks here just to give a little bit of extra height for your hands. And you're just going to lunge deeply into your right leg. So hopefully you'll begin to create a little bit of an opening into this left hip. And then drawing your hips back, begin to straighten through the right leg. Toes come up towards the shin. Bending into that right knee, lunging into that left hip, and drawing that right leg towards straight. So a nice mobilizing movement for the hips, hamstrings, hip flexors. Just do 1 more like that. Come back into your lunge, and then come up into a standing lunge. And what we're aiming for is it to be in a 90-90 position with the legs. So we're not in a kind of a deep lunge here. We want to bring our hands onto our pelvis, And imagine that your pelvis is like a bowl of water. So as you tip the pelvis forward, or tip the bowl of water forward, the contents of that bowl are going to tip out. And then the same if you tip it back, the contents will pour out. So what we're going to do is tip the pelvis forward and then tip the pelvis back. So as we tip the pelvis forward, we take the stretch out of the front of the hip, and then when we pull the frontal hips bones up, tailbone lengthens down, we can begin to feel a little something into this left hip. If you're not feeling anything, make sure that the pelvis is tipped so the tailbone is lengthening down, and then you can just begin to rock yourself forward. So when we rock forward, we're not doing it through our spine, it's a very small movement, and then hopefully you begin to feel a little something into this left hip here. So just beginning to rock, very small movement forward and back, keeping that control of the pelvis. And then when you've found a good level of stretch, you're going to take your left hand up, reach your right hand down, and then side stretch over to your right. Keep lengthening that tailbone down, drawing the frontal hip bones up, and hopefully you should feel that somewhere in the vicinity of that front of the hip. From there, you're going to bring your left elbow to the outside of the right thigh. Join the palms of the hands together, press the hands to find a little bit more rotation through the spine. Take a couple of breaths here. And then from there, release. Take hold of your blocks, lift your back knee up, walk your hands to the center of your mat. Spin your feet so they're parallel to the outside edges of your mat. Bend into that back knee, your left knee, and then walk your hands forward. So it's almost like you're in downward facing dog with your hands, but then you're in like a side lunge with the legs, and the hips are moving back in space as the spine and the arms are reaching forward. Good. From there, walking the blocks back to the front of your mat, stepping forward into a standing forward bend. Inhale, lengthen the spine forward, and as you exhale, fold over the legs. Press down through the legs, inhale, reach the arms up. And then as we inhale, we're going to open the arms to the sides, opening as if you're kind of going to kind of embrace somebody. And then rotate the palms to the back of the room, and then begin to bring the arms back, interlace the fingers, place the hands onto the low back, squeeze the shoulders back, squeeze the elbows towards each other, and then just begin to bend into the knees and hinge yourself forward. From there, releasing the hands down, step your right foot back into a long lunge. And as you exhale, just begin to sink your hips down into this lunge. Drawing the hips back, draw the toes up towards your face, straightening through this left leg. And as you exhale, begin to lunge into that left knee a little bit more. Just going back and forth a couple of times. Just beginning to mobilize into the hips. Beginning to hydrate into the tissues around the hips. Next time you come into your lunge, you're going to pause and bring yourself back up, hands onto the pelvis. Again, just rocking pelvis forward and back a couple of times. And then you want to really roll the pelvis back as if you're trying to tip that water back in space. You may feel something here, especially if there's a lot of restriction in the tissue in the front of the hip. Or you may want to kind of sink yourself forward, but not from the spine. It's just from kind of shifting the pelvis forward a little bit in space. And then from there, you're going to take your right hand, reach it up, left hand reaches down, side stretching over to the left. And then again, you want to really play around with the position so that you're really feeling that in that right hip. So you may need to engage that right glute a little bit more, lengthen the tailbone down, and then take your right elbow to the outside of the left knee, palms together, press the palms, rotate through the spine. From there, you're going to release, lift that back knee, walk the blocks to the middle of your mat, spin the feet parallel to the outside edges of your mat. Right knee bends deeply, sit your hips back in space, and then walk your hands forward. So downward dog hands, side lunge with the legs. Walking the blocks back to the front of your mat. Once again, stepping that right foot forward. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, fold. Press down through the feet. Again, opening the arms into this like beginning of an embrace. The chest lifts, the arms move back. Rotate the palms so they face behind you. Begin to take the arms back behind you. Interlace the fingers. Place the palms onto the low back once again. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Squeeze the shoulders back. Squeeze the elbows together. Bend your knees, hinge into your hips. From there, release the hands down. Step back, downward dog. Good. And I forgot to put in the little internal and external rotation of the left hip. So we're going to lift the left leg. You're going to externally rotate, internally rotate. Take the knee out to the side and in towards the midline. Good. Releasing that left leg down. Take your right leg, reach it up. This time you're going to bend the knee and we're going to do nice big circles with the hips. Taking it in one direction, 2 times. You want to keep the spine and everything else nice and steady, and then take the circle in the other direction. And then open the hip, again reaching that right leg over to the left, and then step the right foot forward. This time you're going to keep your back knee lifted. Again, you can have blocks if you need to. You're going to lunge deeply into this right knee. Get this sense of pressing back through that left heel, sitting deep into that right knee, and then from there you're going to straighten through that right leg. You can bring the toes up towards your face if that feels okay, and then lunging into the knee. Straightening through the right leg, bending into the knee. 2 more like this. And then from there, press down through the feet, come all the way up. Hands can come onto the pelvis once again. You may need to bend this back knee. So what we want to again do is find that tilt of the pelvis so that the pelvis is more level or even kind of tipping back a little bit. So you really get into this tissue onto the front of the hip. Hands can stay onto the pelvis, and then what we're aiming to do is see if we can keep the position of the pelvis but find a little bit more straightening through this back leg. So we're going to press the thigh back in space but keep the position of the pelvis. Last one. See if you can hold that. Take your left hand up, reach your right hand down, create really so much length from that knee all the way to the fingertips. And then once again, elbow hooks to the right thigh. Press the hands, rotate through the spine. Release the hands down, step the foot forward. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, fold. Press down through the feet. Again, that nice big embrace with the arms. Rotate the palms in, so internal rotation. Press the hands back in space. See if you can keep the arms straight for as much as possible. Then bend the elbows. Bring the palms of the hands onto the low back. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Bend the knees, hinge at the hips. Release the hands. Step the right foot back. Again, nice big lunge with the legs. Lunge into that left knee. Press back through that right heel. And then from there, straightening through the left leg, drawing the toes up towards the face, or you can keep the foot down, depending on how it feels. And just go through that movement a few times. Just take your time with it, just really explore the movement. And last one. Good, and then from there, coming up, hands onto your pelvis. You may again need to have a little bend into that back knee to find that neutral pelvis. Really lengthen the tailbone down, engagement through this right glute. And then from there, see if you can keep that position of the pelvis as you press that leg back in space to create a little bit more mobility through that front hip. Good. And then from there, we're going to take right hand up, left hand down, side stretch over to the left. Finding that length again all the way through that right side, right elbow to left knee, hands come together, find that rotation. Placing hands down, and again, forgot the little downward dog on the left side. So taking the left leg up, bend the knee, big hip circles, twice in one direction, twice in the other, and then begin to open the hip, reaching that left foot over to the right as if you're trying to press someone over, and then releasing left foot down. You're going to step your right foot, or your right knee, towards your right hand, and coming into a pigeon position. So you're going to bring your hands just in front of your body, and we're going to do like a cat stretch. So you're going to tuck your tailbone under, shorten the space between the belly and the chin, and then begin to lengthen that space in the front of the body as you extend. Just doing this a few times. Oh, this feels so good in my body. I hope it feels good in yours too. And then from there, I'm going to step back, downward dog. And then step your left knee to left hand, walking that right knee back in space. And again, opening up from pelvis to chin, and then creating a sense of contraction on the front, opening through the back. Two more like this. And then from there, stepping back, downward dog. Taking your right leg, reaching it high to the sky, bend your knee, open up through the hip, reaching that right foot over to the left, as if you're trying to push someone over. You're pressing down strongly with the hands. And then from there, step your right foot forward, in between the hands, lower the back knee down. So from there, we're going to bend this left foot and take hold of it with your right hand. And we're going to either have the left hand onto the block or onto the ground, and you're just going to sink your hips down to the ground. Gently drawing that heel in towards that left glute, sinking the pelvis a little bit more to the ground, finding that rotation through the spine. Taking one more breath here. Without catapulting the leg, slowly release, and with control releasing it down. Step back, downward dog. Taking the right leg, the left leg, reaching it over to the right, as if you're trying to push someone over. And then from there, stepping left foot in, lower the back knee down. Take hold of the right foot with the left hand. Either right hand onto the floor, onto a block. And begin to sink into your lunge. Gently drawing that right. I'm getting all mixed up today. Your right foot in towards your right glute. So your quads and your hip flexors, they're big muscles, so they take a little bit of time just to release out. Good, and then slowly release. And once again, come back into your downward dog. Have a little wriggle. Lower the knees all the way down to the ground, and then come onto your back. So from there, I'm just going to lift the knees above the hips, bring the arms into like a T shape out to your side, drop your knees over to your left, maybe gazing to your right with your head if that feels comfortable. Bringing the knees back to center, taking the legs to the right, maybe gazing to the left. Maybe closing the eyes if it feels comfortable for you. Just having a sense of everything, slowing down, settling. So if you can imagine, I often think of it like one of those snow globes where you shake it up and then everything just begins to settle, so the movement practice, you're kind of moving things around, and then when you begin to come down to the ground and come into relaxation, then it's like everything is just beginning to settle. So bringing the legs back, you can either stay with the knees bent here, or you can lengthen them out, bring the arms out to the sides. Maybe taking some soft sighs out through the mouth. Hope you enjoyed this, even with the little mistakes of forgetting things and getting my lefts and my rights mixed up. I hope this felt good for your body, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you so much.